This episode of NSC TV is brought to you by Leonora AAA, Bushranger Brotherhood, Geelong Firearm Courses, Hunters and Shooters Society of Australia, Auto Scratch, the Combined Firearms Council of South Australia, Kilsyth Outdoor Store, and the Ballarat Arms and Military Collectors Society. Welcome to another episode of NSC TV, and thank you again to our patrons, supporters and our sponsors for making this possible. If you'd like to support this video, go to nsctv.com.au. Today we speak with David Hancock, who's a barrister who's represented many shooters who've had different licence issues. He'll run through the sort of issues that he's represented and what the odds of success are, so stay tuned. I've got David Hancock with me, who's a practicing barrister in Victoria. How are you doing, David?
Very good, Neil. Nice to be here.
Can you just quickly give us a bit of an idea of, I guess, where you started, sort of what areas you practice in?
Sure. I was a solicitor at Rennick and Gaynor for 6 years. I did a mixed practice there, crime, all kinds of things that came through the door, but basically personal injury law, so industrial accidents, things of that nature. And then moved a bit more into crime and decided to go to the bar. I've been at the bar for about 25 years now, practicing in all kinds of law, including criminal cases. I do some prosecuting and defence work, and I do a lot of tribunal cases at VCAT and other tribunals.
And you've had quite a bit of exposure over the years to matters relating to firearm licences and the like. Can you give us a bit of an idea of the sort of matters which you have dealt with to date?
Yes, I've dealt with a number of different matters in a lot of different states of Australia. So it's been quite varied and quite interesting work. Everything from people that have come to me after having firearms seized to things that have happened in relation to accidents that have happened with firearms. I've been involved in coronial inquiries that involve shootings. So a number of different cases. A lot of them in tribunals around Australia, as you're aware. So tribunals in Western Australia, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, magistrates' courts in Tasmania. So a wide variety of firearms law across all of those jurisdictions. And it's mainly people that have had their licences or firearms seized and want to get them back, or they're applying for a new type of firearm that may be regulated in some way, and they're attempting to get a permit to use that particular firearm.
And then includes also firearm reclassifications, and I imagine
Yes.
wide scope of matters.
Yes, we've come across quite a bit of that in Western Australia and South Australia. And we've found in recent years that the relevant authorities in the states are becoming quite restrictive in the types of firearms that they will permit people to use, whether it's on the target range or for hunting or various other places.
And I mean, there will be some people who, I guess, have lost their licenses for reasons that are actually quite understandable from a regulator's point of view. But what, in terms of the scale of the quality of decisions and evidence, what would you say is that spread of quality by our regulators?
It varies from state to state. It's a bit hard to give a general answer to that. Some clients come to me with the view that the decision is pretty poor. It's not justified. It's not substantiated by evidence or reasons. I've had cases in New South Wales recently where a person has been suspected of being an alcoholic or a drug user, and they've put forward evidence that in fact they aren't. So the regulator has formed an impression of a person based upon circumstances that may not be true, or in other cases where there have been minor infringements such as speeding or traffic offences, which then is used against the person to impinge upon their character and whether or not it's in the public interest for them to have a firearm, even if it might be a trivial offence, as you know, Neil. So we've had a number of cases where people have thought, well, hey, I've just been picked up for speeding, but I've lost my firearms licence. What gives?
If you shop at a Ritchie's IGA supermarket, you can support the NSC's work program every time you shop there simply by producing a Ritchie's IGA card or app on your phone. For more information, go to nationalshooting.org.au.
There's been a death, for example, as the use of a firearm that has caused the death of a person. We had one recently. There was a coronial inquest. That person was involved with leaving a live round in a gun that fell over and then discharged. And unfortunately, the person ended up popping shrapnel and died. That person had their license suspended, and we went through the process of proving that they were a fit and proper person to hold a firearms license, and he got his license back. And so that was a very interesting one.
Yeah. A lot of this seems to revolve around the question of fit and proper, which, as you know, there's no firm definition of it, and it's, I guess it's going to have to be judged according, as each matter comes across your desk, as to whether you think somebody has got a case or not. That's a difficult
each case is different. Yeah, community standards they vary. They vary from state to state. So there's what's called the public interest test. Is it in the public interest of this person to have and use firearms? And it's a fairly arbitrary assessment of a person. So we, when we're running cases such as that, we often call character evidence about a person's character, their experience with firearms, the number of years they've used them, how safe they are when they're shooting, from other people's observations. And we put as much information before the tribunal as to that person's history and character as we can to enable the tribunal to get a very full picture of that person, not just one perhaps bad thing that they did over their lifetime.
Do you have any advice on what people should do? I guess some of the first things they should be thinking about and doing when they, I guess, either get a knock on the door or get a letter through the mail that talks about suspension or cancellation of license. What are the things they should be doing straight away?
Well, if they get a knock on the door, it's probably hand over your guns. So that'll happen, and that can be quite a confronting experience for some people in dealing with police. If they get a letter, hand in your guns within a certain time, they'll have to do that. Seek legal advice is my advice. I think don't let the time limit run out either. Act quickly, because there are strict time limits on appealing decisions such as those. And if you don't go and see a lawyer, at least get a letter in or an application into your local tribunal, or an application to review the decision within the time period that's stated in the letter. You can get extensions, but it's not that easy. You need to give a reason why time should be extended. So get onto it. Get onto your shooting association as well, and get some advice as quickly as you can.
You can support NSC TV by becoming a subscriber at nsctv.com.au. When you've got a letter which doesn't actually give a reason, it just says you're not fit and proper. I mean, that I think, because what I could say is that that's actually an invitation, if anything, to have that discussion with a lawyer, because that's not actually giving you a reason as to why you're not fit and proper. It's just a statement of some sort of opinion.
It is. It is, and it's an assessment by the authority as to your character or what you've done to put them in a position where they feel justified in sending a suspension or cancellation notice to you. And what you'll find is that when you do appeal or put in an application to review, then that's when they'll provide you with the full statement of reasons, and they're obliged to do that. And of course, anything that goes before the tribunal, they'll have to give a very detailed argument as to why they've adopted the position that they have.
If you were to flip a coin, What do you reckon would be the odds of a good outcome for the number of cases that you've had over the years? Do you think it'd be half? Would it be half? Would it be?
Had really good results in probably 70-80% of the cases I've acted in.
Wow.
So it's been quite satisfying work, working with people. I've had some really grateful people who have sent me lovely letters and notes of thankfulness for the work I've done, and they really appreciate it when you put in the time and the effort, and they've been able to pursue their hobby again. It's really good. It's very satisfying. We've had a few decisions go against us, which are of course disappointing, but I think most of them have pretty much been quite successful. It's been really good.
Excellent. Okay, well, David Henkel, thank you for your time. We appreciate you helping us.
Pleasure.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Well, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode of NSC TV, and don't forget to share it with your friends. And always make sure you subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done so. We hope you enjoyed the show. See you later.